Okay, go ahead, Sean.
Okay, here we go. Welcome from sea to sea, from planet to planet, and star to shining star. It's me, Dr. Sean David Morton. How is everybody out there in that strange universe? Good to talk to everybody. I want to say thank you again to my hero, JP, and Lady Bex and all that for putting us on the air. Also, thank you for all the support I've been getting from people like Wendy Angel and Beth Boyer and Richard Steinberg and Mark Urban and Mama Lil, and all the people that have been so kind and supportive and supporting me here and sending me Christmas gifts and all that kind of stuff. Just right off the top, I gave Melissa. Melissa's out now, and she's desperately trying to put money together to fix her car, and literally get clothing and food. So her email, if anybody wants to contact her, is chasingstar999 at AOL.com. It's chasingstar999 at AOL.com. So please get in contact with her. I'm asking her to set up a PayPal account so that people can actually assist her, because she needs to raise about $1,200 to fix the car that our friends drove into the ground while we were in here. And I guess she's going to a Mormon church now, and I asked her to take up a collection there to see if they'll help her. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. But she's out there fighting the good fight. She really needs help from everybody out there. So I appreciate that. So there's that. So I also want to thank Hillary Lowndes, one of my oldest and dearest friends, my college girlfriend. She actually came and visited me here in Tucson for a couple of days. And Hillary's uncle and father actually started Playboy with Hugh Hefner years ago. And I got to work for Playboy for a while, and I was hang out with all the Monty Python guys, become friends with people like John Cleese and Eric Idle and Michael Palin and all those people. Don't realize that Playboy Productions actually produced it now for something completely different, the first Monty Python movie, and actually brought the Monty Python television show to the United States. That was all her Uncle Victor. So she and I met at USC, and it was just wonderful to see her for a couple of days and get out of this place. All right, some updates on things that are going on. Everybody's waiting on Trump's State of the Union address tomorrow. There's some very weird things that are kind of non sequiturs. First off, nobody's heard from Ruth Bader Ginsberg, the Supreme Court Justice, for about a month. I mean, she missed the first briefing of the first time she's missed a briefing of the Supreme Court in as long as she's been on the court. She did it supposedly by Skype or teleconference or whatever else, but since then she's missed everything. And there was supposedly a county coroner and a funeral hearse leaving her estate a couple of days ago. So there's the good possibility that Ruth Bader Ginsburg might in fact be dead. And I don't know why they're covering it up, why there have been no actual news stories on any of this. I mean, Ivanka Trump gets a minor procedure, and the press is all over it. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is literally dying of lung cancer, and nobody seems to know where she is. So that's kind of interesting. Now, she's going to be gone. Whether or not she resigns or is dead or dies very soon, it's going to be very interesting, because I think the next Supreme Court Justice, remember I picked Brett Kavanaugh, who I also think was kind of a mistake. I knew that John Roberts, who was the head SCOTUS guy, was a traitor from Jump Street, because he's the one that goofed up the oath with Obama, knowing he wasn't a citizen, and he couldn't take the constitutional oath of office in 2009. But a woman named Coney Barrett seems to be at the top of the list for Trump, and she's got 7 kids and is a dyed-in-the-wool Catholic. So we're once again going to see the left going completely insane over another Supreme Court nominee, and now there's really nothing they can do about it. Now the Republicans have 53 in the Senate. Okay. Also, George Soros. I need some confirmation on this, but there's a body of evidence that says that George Soros was in fact arrested in Switzerland, and George Soros is another one of those people that I think is dying and may be out of the picture very, very soon. But and you always hear rumors about this happening, but there's the good possibility that this time it's real and that Soros was in fact arrested in Switzerland. So we'll see what happens there. As far as the State of the Union address and any big surprises, it all depends on whether or not Trump really pulls the trigger. A lot of this theatrical theater. I mean, he will possibly shut down the government again on the 15th of February, but he doesn't need to do any of that. He doesn't need to declare a national emergency. He's found about $13.5 billion, and he's been working with the Office of Management and Budget for months to basically just find these billions of dollars in the couch cushions of the federal government. I think it's funny that of the 800,000 federal workers that were put on furlough with pay, I might add, because they come back. Good luck getting a job where you get to take a 26-day vacation and then get paid. But a bunch of them actually said, screw the government, went out and got jobs in the private sector, because the private sector jobs, there's so many of them and they pay so well that a lot of them just quit the federal jobs, just showing once again that these are unnecessary federal employees. And screw these Fed workers. I think Trump needs to just fire all of them. So he doesn't actually need the money. Now, if he declares a national emergency, it has to be for some other reason. Now, one of the things I know that he's going to do is I still think that he's going to break up the CIA. That he is basically going to do what Kennedy wanted to do, which is basically smash it into 1,000 pieces and cast it to the winds. That means he's going to massively prune down the entire intelligence espionage system, especially on private citizens of the United States, probably breaking CIA up and maybe even a bunch of FBI up as well. But downsizing everything to the Office of Naval Intelligence, to the National Security Agency, to the Defense Intelligence Agency. So he's talking about pruning down the entire intelligence establishment to I think like 7 main agencies, and ending domestic surveillance on U.S. citizens, and basically just pulling the teeth on the domestic surveillance and surveillance which was used against him. The Mueller report is coming out now. Once again, it's very interesting to me that Heinrich Mueller was the guy who actually formed the Gestapo, the SS, and now we've got Mueller, same spelling, same pronunciation, but pronunciation by the way, and people all joking at the fact that maybe he's the son or grandson of the original Mueller, but. He's a bad guy. I mean, he was put in charge of the FBI only a few months before 9/11 happened. So this is a guy who's covered up the real story behind 9/11, who's prosecuted people like I think Richard Jewell, who they accused of blowing up the Atlanta Olympic Games. Turns out he was not guilty at all. They went after the Enron executives as well and destroyed the Arthur Andersen law firm, where all these convictions were overturned 9-0 at the Supreme Court. So, and Mueller's report on the whole Russia investigation, it's going to hinge on William Barr. Again, I don't trust Barr as far as I can throw him as far as head of the DOJ, because he's another Bush appointee, and every time that Trump has trusted anybody that worked for either Bush Senior or Bush GW, he's had problems. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But the Mueller report it's not exactly going to exonerate Trump, but there's no evidence of Russian collusion whatsoever. You can tell by the Roger Stone indictment that basically nothing's coming down, that Trump isn't even really a person of interest in regards to this, and it's going to be a whole bunch of other, completely nonsensical tertiary stuff. The trick is going to be when they're really going to start going after the real Russian collusion, which is Hillary and the Uranium One deal and the Clinton Foundation's shenanigans in Haiti and child trafficking and sex trafficking and all this. And ladies and gentlemen, there's still about 71,000 and change federal indictments. This is the one fact that I can't get around. There's a fact. You can check it on Pacer that there's over 71,000 federal indictments that are sitting, waiting for the trigger to be pulled on Pacer. You can check it on Pacer. And the question becomes, when does Trump actually have his crystal knocked moment, if you will, where he pulls the trigger and it's the night of the long knives and he begins to start arresting and processing people? There's the good possibility that he could possibly arrest 140 members of Congress. The other thing that he's forcing them to do is that whether people know this or not, but millions of dollars have been spent in a slush fund for Congress to pay off people that congressmen have raped, and sexual allegation charges and allegations of rape and harassment and whatever else, and it's all been kept secret. Well, Trump's now going to say he wants the Office of Management and Budget to expose all of the payments that have been made, mostly to Democrats, I might add, of this slush fund that's been paying reparations to victims of the sexual predators in Congress. So that's another thing that he's going to bring to light and expose. A lot of this is going to happen in April and May. Let me let you know also, as far as my case goes, Melissa decided to take a lawyer and is waiting on her appeal to be heard. It's so funny because her appeal was simply had to do with probable cause, had to do with a warrant, had to do with violations of due process, and her lawyer put in an appeal that was 30 pages, that was under 3,500 words like he was supposed to. The government hit her with a response to that was 99 pages long. That was all just crap that they pulled off the internet. That was basically just internet smear. And the Ninth Circuit Court slapped him in the face and said, "No, you're stupid. Do it again." And so anyway, so she's waiting on that. As far as my case goes, on November 21st, I filed 6 dispository emergency expedited motions, all of which will expunge the case and overturn this and get me out of here. The deadline for the government to answer those was December 1st, and that, of course, has come and gone a long time ago. So I was told by the clerk of the Ninth Circuit Court that it takes months, several months is what she said, for them to rule on one motion, and I have 6 of them, which are all designed to let me go. But the government has left the field of battle. They've said zip, zero, nada. They've given up. They're out of tricks to play because they pulled so many dirty...
This call is from a federal prison.
...and committed so many crimes that that they just threw their hands up in the air and said, well, there's no way that we can dispute that. So I'm literally just waiting for the Ninth Circuit Court to rule to let me go. So it's going to be pretty momentous. There's going to be a lot of sparks that are going to fly tomorrow at the State of the Union address. It's going to be very interesting to see how this happens. There are other things at work here. I'm not so sure about the revaluation of currency. As I said, I think the revaluation of the Zimbabwean Zim is a pretty, I think it's kind of a done deal. I think it's also very interesting that Trump is actually pulling all the troops out of Afghanistan and Syria and putting them in Iraq as a way to basically control the Iranians. And the Iranians, because of the sanctions and the things we've done to them, are really on their knees. ISIS is completely dead and gone. A peace deal is coming with the Taliban in Afghanistan, and there is the possibility here. I mean, please remember that Trump's uncle, John Trump, was the guy that was tasked with looking through all of Nikola Tesla's boxes when he died, and he was the one that was handed all the technology at Roswell. So nobody knows better the potential of technology. The Defense Department has just come up with a cold fusion reactor to basically power a long-range bomber and patent to the public. And with Patrick Shanahan as the new Secretary of Defense, he was a Boeing executive who's going to release all this wondrous technology. So things are going to get amazing very, very fast, and I'm going to get out of here. Please support Melissa. Email her at chasingstar999@AOL.com. And I want to say again, thank you so much for JP and to Lady Bex and everybody there for putting this stuff on the air. All right, got to go. Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Next week.
Good night.
Thanks, partner.